In the year 2157, humanity had finally cracked the code to time travel. The invention of the time machine opened up endless possibilities for exploration, discovery, and even tourism. But with great power comes great responsibility, and the consequences of meddling with the timeline soon became apparent. A rogue time traveler, known only as the Archon, had begun altering events in the past, reshaping the course of history to suit their own agenda. The effects were catastrophic, causing rifts in the fabric of time and threatening the very existence of the universe. Dr. Sophia Patel, a brilliant scientist, had dedicated her life to studying the mysteries of time. She knew that the Archon's actions had to be stopped, and so she formed a secret organization known as the Timekeepers to prevent their destructive actions. The Timekeepers' first recruit was James, a former soldier with a talent for tactical strategy. James was joined by Maya, a brilliant hacker, and Jax, a charismatic smuggler with a talent for getting in and out of tight spots. Together, they traveled through time, tracking the Archon's movements and trying to prevent their nefarious plans. From ancient Egypt to a dystopian future, the Timekeepers found themselves in a desperate race against time. As the stakes grew higher, the Timekeepers discovered that the Archon was not working alone. A rival organization known as the Time Reavers had emerged, seeking to exploit the chaos for their own gain. The Timekeepers soon found themselves caught in a complex web of time travel, rival factions, and conflicting agendas. With the fate of humanity hanging in the balance, they must navigate the treacherous landscape of time and prevent a catastrophic future. But as they journeyed deeper into the heart of the Time War, the Timekeepers began to realize that their actions were having unintended consequences. The timeline was becoming increasingly unstable, and the very fabric of reality was beginning to unravel. In the end, the Timekeepers made a desperate last stand against the Archon and the Time Reavers. The battle raged across multiple timelines, with the fate of humanity hanging precariously in the balance. In the end, the Timekeepers emerged victorious, but not without scars. The timeline was forever changed, and the consequences of their actions would be felt for generations to come. Dr. Patel and her team had saved humanity, but at what cost? As they returned to their own time, they knew that their work was far from over. The Time War had left deep wounds, and the timeline was still fragile. The Timekeepers vowed to continue their mission, protecting the timeline and ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated.
But as they looked out into the unknown, they knew that the Time War was far from over. New threats were emerging, and the battle to protect the timeline would never truly end. The Timekeepers stood ready, prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that the fate of humanity rested in their hands. And so, the Time War continued, a never-ending struggle to protect the timeline and ensure the survival of humanity. The Timekeepers remained vigilant, always ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that the fate of the universe rested in their hands. Years turned into decades, and decades turned into centuries. The Timekeepers became a legendary organization, a secret society dedicated to protecting the timeline. They faced countless challenges, from rogue time travelers to rival organizations, but they always emerged victorious. But as the centuries passed, the Timekeepers began to realize that their actions were having unintended consequences. The timeline was becoming increasingly complex, with multiple branches and parallel universes emerging. The Timekeepers struggled to keep up. Their resources stretched to the limit. And then, disaster struck. A powerful new enemy emerged, one that threatened to destroy the timeline once and for all. The Timekeepers knew that they had to act fast, or risk losing everything they had worked for. The final battle was intense, with the Timekeepers fighting for their very existence. They emerged victorious, but not without scars. The timeline was forever changed, and the consequences of their actions would be felt for generations to come. In the end, the Timekeepers stood victorious, but at what cost? The timeline was fragile, and the universe was forever changed. They knew that their work was far from over, and that the battle to protect the timeline would never truly end. And so, the Timekeepers continued their mission, protecting the timeline and ensuring the survival of humanity. They knew that the fate of the universe rested in their hands, and they were determined to do whatever it took to protect it.